In this video, we're gonna turn this crawling spider robot into a demonic train called Choo Choo Charles. A ton of you guys have requested this one, so here we go.
We're Jaimie and Jay, and we make wicked spooky stuff.
Look at this little RC spider we found.
I love it. Can we dissect it?
First up, dissecting the spider.
Whoa.
So we've got our main control panel, we've got a speaker, and up here we've got the lights and the little fog steam mechanism. And then the motor right here moves this arm back and forth, and the legs, they move. Next, we basically took out all the stuff we want, cut off the things we don't need, and then dremeled off all the extra plastic bits like the fangs and the legs. So this thing is actually a miniature ultrasonic fogger, and there's this tiny little disc right here. Basically the water goes in here, and then when this turns on, it creates mist. It's awesome, it's so small. Imagine what you could use this for little toys and props and costumes. It's super neat. What do you got there?
I have some experiments. One of the main issues with making this guy look like Choo Choo Charles is the legs. His legs come out from here. But in this current spider, the legs come out kind of like at the bottom of the platform, which is way too low. Now we can't lift the whole thing up because then the wheels won't be on the ground, so we're trying to lift just the legs up. So we're gonna make little leg extensions that will attach to his leg nub, go up, and then go out. So now the legs are high enough to come out of the top of the platform. We'll put our little circle thing there, and he'll have little leggies come out at the right spot.
So we're ready to build the body?
I think so.
We're gonna use balsa wood, which is real wood, but it's ultra light. Because this is an animatronic and it moves, we have to keep it light or it won't move, so we can't use clay and that kind of stuff.
Is there a balsa tree? Does balsa wood come from a balsa tree? There is a balsa tree. It's one of those things like you've always heard of it, but you never like thought, where did balsa wood come from?
Another reason I really like balsa wood is because you can cut it with a knife. And you just get it at the craft store. Now we're gonna assemble these pieces, and to glue them together, we're just gonna use super glue. And we got a couple blocks of wood here which help us get the pieces nice and straight. Just to help things stay together long term, I'm gonna put a bead of hot glue on the inside corners. Look, half a train, sort of. I added like a little front piece that's kind of angled to, this is where the lights are gonna come out of, and then this is gonna go like that. Now we have to figure out this thingy, I don't know what trains call, you know, the round part. What do you got going there?
Look, we need the cylindrical things for the front.
You mean the boiler? I looked it up.
Boiler. We need things for the boiler.
Okay.
And we have a ton of things in the pantry, so one of these is gonna work.
Yeah.
This one is gonna be for like the big back part of it because look, it can squish. And I think the back is actually like a squish cylinder. And then for the front, I think the tomato paste. That should be like, that's a good ratio.
For some of the smaller, more intricate parts, we're gonna 3D print them. Like for example, this like light bar thing is gonna go in the front, but we do have to drill some holes into our wood to make all of this stuff fit. While we're at it, we're also gonna cut some rectangular channels in the top here, and this is where the legs are gonna stick up out of. So to try to make these legs work, we've come up with like 5 different ideas. This little red piece that moves back and forth is what moves the legs, but underneath them, this is where the legs actually attach. So what I think we're gonna do is actually recreate this whole piece and 3D print it, and then have the leg kind of come up right here and stick out of that hole we just made. This way Jaimie's original plan to raise up the legs still works, but now we have a way to connect the pieces. After a bit of testing, we finally modeled something that seemed like it would work. Our first test piece is done. Let's see if it fits. I also printed this little leg thing just to test with.
Hey, he has a leg.
Okay. That seems like it might actually work, Jaimie.
Yay!
Should we make more?
7 more to go.
Okay, I've been working on these legs for the past 2 days, but I think I finally got it working, so let's check it out. The big challenge here is that each of these black pieces is totally different shape. The original spider's kind of round, but we needed ours to go in a straight line. So some of them had to come forward, some of them had to go back. Once this little red piece went back on, it took a lot of tweaking to get it to move properly, but finally everything's moving like it should. Okay, I hooked the batteries back up and got it back together, and let's see what happens here. You ready for this?
Yes. Oh my God! Oh, don't let him fall. Spider train is amazing.
There's a couple more things I need to do to the electronics part to get that ready, but then we can start putting the whole body together.
Yay.
Another thing we 3D printed were these train wheels, and they're modeled in the same size and style as Charles, but the problem is the body's a little too low to the ground to fit these wheels, so we actually have to raise it up a little bit. So 2 of these wheels are gonna attach directly to the red wheel, and we made this extra little hub, and basically it's gonna go in like that, and then onto the wheel like that, and that should work. And there it is, one step closer to being a spider train. We're using some more balsa wood to add the trim pieces around the back, which all got cut and glued onto the edges pretty easily. Balsa wood is just awesome and super easy to use. Highly recommend you try it. We also took another part of the Pringles can and wrapped it around the back boiler to add a trim piece. Next, we cut some wood in an oval shape, and these got glued into each end to create the slight oval that we want. The front part got glued to the back, we test fitted the pieces, and everything was looking good. Finally, we primed everything with some black spray paint.
It's time to start sculpting these legs. Now I'm gonna use these 3D prints as kind of like the armature, and I'm gonna sculpt over it with some foam clay. I think that should keep it nice and light. But first I'm gonna use a heat gun to kind of try and give it a little bit of a natural bend to the legs. That way they won't all look exactly the same, because spider legs are not all the same. I got a new brand of foam clay. This one is called Black Magic. I'm still on the hunt for foam clay that I actually like. Hopefully this is it, but if you have foam clay recommendations that you love using, let me know. Okay, verdict? This clay, so much better. There is a huge difference between different types of foam clays. This one's good so far.
That looks so good.
There we go. That's kind of how you're gonna see that leg.
That's a big chunky leg. It's a big boy.
Yeah.
I'm glad the leg bending technique worked.
Yeah.
It's easier to just bend these into the shape you want than to try to 3D print them into like this weird curve. Plus now we can kind of look at it and we can decide like which way should each leg bend.
And I think I want like some of the legs like up. Like he's mid-walk, so like some legs are up, some are down.
This looks so much better. I'm so excited.
Like he's in motion now. He's
Yes.
really cool. So I think I'm ready to sculpt the rest of the legs, and
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'm gonna build the roof. So for this roof, we can just use the piece of balsa wood, and it kind of bends naturally because it's so thin. So I made some of these little forms, and we're just gonna glue them on. And if we're lucky, it should work. And there's a roof. I'm gonna do the same thing for the 2 little small roof extensions on each side, and then we're gonna paint this. Sculpting the other legs went really well. We were really happy to find this new foam clay because it worked awesome. When we weighed everything, we actually only added about 6 grams of weight per leg, which is excellent. The primer coat is done on these, it's looking good. We finished the roof, and one thing we did on the top here was add some little magnets, and the other magnets are on the bottom of the roof, so we can attach it just like that. We've also got the boilers. These are gonna go on here like this, and we're starting to look like a train. Now, before we paint it red, there's one tiny little detail we have to add. Well, technically there's like hundreds of little details, because we're gonna add the tiny little rivets that go up and down the sides of all this little trim. We're using rhinestones that go on fingernails. And we're sparkly. It definitely took a while to put them all on, but I really like the way it looks.
before we sculpt his face, I need to sculpt his little teethies. And the reason I need to do that is I need to have hard teeth to shove up into his gums. So to do that, we're gonna use Sculpey. It's a really nice clay to work with, and we can bake it for like 15 minutes and it'll be hard. All right, we just gotta pop them in the oven and we will have some Choo Choo chompers. The teeth are baked. They look awesome. I think most of these are gonna be the perfect size. I did make some big ones, but I don't know what I was thinking when I made these, because like, look at this tooth compared to the face. But that's fine, because I made tons of extras. So now it is time to sculpt the face. And I'm a little nervous. This is like the showpiece. This is what makes Choo Choo Charles, Choo Choo Charles. I mean, luckily it's kind of a crazy face and it's like mostly teeth, so I'm hoping it's not gonna be too hard, but we're gonna put some clay on there and see how it goes. Okay, the original plan for the teeth was I was going to put them in here while the sculpture was still curing, but when I was trying to put them in, it was messing up the sculpture. Maybe I waited too long. Plus, we realized, like, how the heck are we gonna paint around like 35 teeth? That's gonna be impossible. So we made tooth holes and we'll paint inside there, and then when it's all dry, then we'll put teeth in.
I know you were really worried, but that looks amazing.
Does he? He's a little lumpy, but you know what? The original sculpture is a little lumpy, so it's okay.
So this is the little chimney that's gonna go on the top of his head, and it has a hose coming out of it because this is gonna attach to the steamer. But we actually have to put this in now because we won't be able to get it back in after we glue it together. So the hose goes in the top of his head. And there you go.
All right.
That looks cool. Here, hold this for a second.
Okay. I love it!
Choo choo.
That is the coolest.
This is just a small microfogger. This isn't the one in the train, but it does the same thing.
It's amazing.
Okay, so first we can glue this on. Super glue.
Okay, so there's like this little area right here that like technically would be welded on. So I'm thinking I'm gonna do a weld line with the hot glue, but that makes me very nervous. I feel like this is a terrible idea.
It's not working
This
at
is
all.
not good.
You want me to see if I can salvage it?
Hold on. Yeah, I feel like maybe we could like spread it, or that might just make it terribly worse. Oh my
that's
god,
not
you
good.
too. I don't.
What if you're just recreating the worst welder ever?
I mean, Choo Choo Charles would not have a professional welder.
Okay, well, that didn't work, but we have a plan B. We're gonna try super glue. It's a little hard to see, but basically it fills the gap so that it looks like it's actually connected instead of just kind of sitting on top of it. Okay, ready?
Yes.
So now this has to go through here.
Yes. Awesome.
Now what?
Now we paint. Next, everything that's red is going to get a base coat of red. I think we're gonna need a couple layers of this. Next, we're gonna paint the trim and the roof with a dark metallic color. It's time for one of my favorite parts, making him look gross. I love adding all the grime and dirt and scratches and stuff, so let's mess this guy up. I'm emulating the game texture as much as I can, which is really fun. It's got like this painterly comic book almost style, so I'm trying to stick to that as close as possible. So I was about to start painting the face, and we noticed there's a little baby spider living in our spider train. Choo Choo Charles is now Spider Daddy.
Spider Daddy.
Spider Daddy.
We used a vinyl cutter to make a stencil of the Charles logo and then put it on the side and airbrushed it on. It looks so awesome, and this was really easy to do. Once the clay dried on the legs, Jaimie painted them with some red and gold to match the kind of ornate look of them in game. Combined with the organic sculpting, these came out really, really cool looking. While Jaimie's been painting, I've been getting all the electronics ready to go. So we made a custom battery pack that'll fit inside. We have an LED light. This is a little adapter that I printed that's gonna fit the hose. I used a rubber band to add some rubber grip to the bottom of these wheels. And then finally we added a little bit of height to the front wheel so that it matched with these. And now we gotta put all this stuff inside the train. My preparation paid off because everything fit in just how I wanted it to. Hopefully it actually turns on. Oh, and this is a little out of order, but we also gave the outside a glossy clear coat to give it a metallic look. Now it's time for my favorite part, the details. We used a bunch of techniques here. You saw that we 3D printed the wheels, but these are actually just made from drinking straws. You could just 3D print everything, but sometimes it's better to use what you have.
What's wrong, Jay?
I screwed up. This last wheel doesn't fit. Look, this red thing's in the way.
Oh no.
There's nowhere to put it. Do we just not have the last wheels?
You can't just have 3 wheels on each side.
We could cut it in half and just kind of glue it onto the red thing. That totally worked.
Yes.
4 wheels.
Awesome. It's time to put the legs on.
These legs came out so cool.
Yeah, I'm happy with them. In the game, they're kind of organic, but they're also ornate, and I think we captured that pretty well.
So we left this little plastic tab at the end, which is gonna fit into the little leg holder thingies that we made. But the tricky part is gonna be getting them at the right angle, so let's go for it.
Okay.
Finally, the cherry on top.
Before we see him in action, just want to say thanks y'all for watching.
This little bowl is filled with 3D printed parts that didn't fit right the first time. And my big takeaway from this project was, that's okay. Just try again. You make an adjustment, you try again. If it's the legs, you try again and again and again and again. But eventually it works, and it's worth taking that extra time to get the details right and make sure everything's good, because that's how you get better, and that's what makes the project awesome. And hopefully it's actually gonna walk, because we haven't tested it yet.
This week's wicked shout out goes to Scott, who's one of our patrons. He watches with his whole family, and the whole house is big Choo Choo Charles fans, so we hope you like it.
Until next time, stay wicked. Okay, the legs kind of move. It's not working quite as well as we hoped, but sometimes that's how it goes. All the crazy fun things we learned on this project, we can carry forward to the next one so that we get a little better each time. Let us know what you want to see next.